All right, now let's look at a simple first example. So this is going to be a data pre-processing example. Now imagine that it's the end of the month and you've got to bring a bunch of sheets together and you have to reconcile some of the data, make sure it's compatible and clean so that it can be joined. So in this case, all the dates are wonky across the sheets, and we've got to run through and prep all those files. Now, AutoNL, like I've said, it works on an input file, an instruction, and an output file. So in this case, each of these instructions is self-explanatory in terms of what you're trying to do. And it's always going to create a new output file. We're not going to overwrite anything. Let's look at what this looks like in AutoNL. Okay, so simple command here is Python main.py datapre.xlsx. That's the name of our sheet. That's the name of our AutoNL sheet. Let's run it. So the very first thing you're going to notice is we're going to execute instruction 1 of 5. Now these are all simple things. It's going to get right to code. And there we go. Not only that, at each step, we're also going to save the code that we ran for that file, step1.py, step2.py, etc. So you can go back and actually inspect the outputs. And if you wanted to, rather than running the actual sheet again, you could string together the code for a more deterministic process. Okay, so we're going through instruction 2 here. You can see this is completing as well. Something else I'm going to point out is that after each step, watch for the verification step. So after each step instruction, it runs a validation. Here we're in the validation step. What it's doing is it's looking, was the file created? Was the date time change made? It was created and the date time change is good. We're on to the third instruction. Okay, fast forwarding ahead here. Now we're just checking step 5. Step 5 is also good. Now at the end of a full AutoNL run, we're always going to do a full validation of all the steps. So it's going to make sure that all these files were created. Then it's going to hash all of the files. It's going to create a time-stamped directory, move all the files to that time-stamped directory with the hash. And that way, if we run this process twice, we can look and see, do they hash the same? That's a great indicator of reliability. And also it's going to keep your directory a little bit cleaner, which, trust me, when I was going through the testing of this thing, that's critical. That's crucial. So let's go and look and see if we can find that file now. Now we're in our AutoNL directory. Let's look. 944 looks like this one is our directory, and we can see we have our 5 files, the 5 coding steps, as well as this hash. So AutoNL isn't just good for data tasks though. It can kind of do anything. And so in this example, let's look at making a music video with the help of Stable Diffusion Video. And so let's look at the sheet in question here. It's musicvid.xlsx. So in this sheet, it's just, as normal, there's no input file here. Each row represents a single video file that will be created. It's 3 seconds long. And so here is our instruction. And it was easier for me to actually make a few extra fields to compose the instruction. And then I just concat them over here. So I have a style. Here's the prompt: a film shot, realistic, dreary, gothic noir. The prompt: a corrupt prosecutor looks at his victims in the court. Or an evil judge towers above the defendant with red eyes. Another little instruction I hear is just to make sure that it inserts a delay. On my machine, the average generation time for these videos is about 45 seconds. So to give it a nice healthy buffer, I include a 90-second pause in the first one, and that's to allow extra time for the model to load on its first run. And then on future steps, I just do 60 seconds, which is a little bit more than I need to at 45, but I want to make sure that by the time AutoNL checks to make sure the file's there, it's actually there. So that's helpful. And then finally, this last column is my API example. And so here, we actually just paste in the entire API example that we get from Comfy UI. And that's so that the model understands, so Open Interpreter has something to go on. Like it doesn't know the stable diffusion video isn't part of its training. So we need to help it out and give it some more instructions so it can do that kind of task. So we make four different 3-second videos. And then the fifth line, the fifth action is we're going to join these video files together. All the files here from steps 1 to 4 pasted in as input, as well as some music. And we're going to save the files in MP4. We're going to use the provided background music and start that music at 30 seconds. Cut it off after the video is done. We don't need a big long black video. And then just, I find sometimes it's helpful to tell it, don't bother checking for FFmpeg. It's already installed, right? It's already available in your path. And then we want to save this as prosecutorfinal.mp4. So let's run this now. Started Python main.py musicvid.slxx. All right, it's planning. Let's see if it generates the code properly. It does. Excellent. Now remember, there's going to be a pretty long delay here in generating these clips. So once the first one is sent off and we're just in the waiting period, then we'll fast forward to the end and look at what our last step has produced. All right, I have to admit, with all that waiting, I did run and do something else with this time. So let's check and see if the video processed and finished. Okay, now, was that an artistic masterpiece? I'm not sure. Might need some prompt engineering to get a good one out of that. But it did make the video, and that's what we're looking for. All right, here are those files, and let's open up our video. I prosecute the crimes of man. My word is law. You stand accused by me. All right, now I'm not sure that that's necessarily a work of art. Might need some prompt engineering, but hey, it did string all the videos together for us. And now, if we wanted to, we could just go back into this music video sheet and just change up the prompts and generate different videos, in a batch, or string together 10 clips or whatever we care about.